We all know about the kingpins like El Chapo or El Capone, but what about the queenpins of the underworld? Organized crime has always been a male-dominated territory, but there have been women who have made their mark on the criminal underworld. Brutal, ruthless, and unyielding women whose names would make even the bravest of men tremble.
Oh yeah, this video is about to be fire. We about to see some brutal, crazy female gangsters. Who knows the type of stuff these women have done? I'm ready to watch this. Shout out to the gang. Let's go. What's good? Dark Knight Gang. I'm Neptune. Alright, bro, look. Today we about to watch a good video. This one right here is titled The Most Brutal Female Gangsters Ever. Yeah, bro, we're going to hear about some brutal female gangsters. We all know about male gangsters. We hear about the mob. Let's hear about some female gangsters. They probably been cutting off dicks and feeding them to men. Oh, think about that, bro. What if a woman cut off your dick? She had you by gunpoint. She cut your and then said, eat it. I'ma shoot you in the head. That bitch shoot me because we gonna fight. I am, nigga, what? Anyway, I hope everybody's feeling good. Hope everybody's feeling great. This should be an interesting video. Shout out to the gang. Let's watch it. Let's go.
Bonnie Parker, 1910 to 1934. Bonnie Parker arguably stands out as one of the most renowned figures on this list. Her criminal partnership with her lover, Clyde, had a profound
this Bonnie and Clyde
impact on pop culture as we know it. Bonnie was born in 1910 in California, Texas. Her father died when she was very young, so her family went to live with her grandparents in Cement City, Dallas. She was described as hot-tempered, self-sufficient, independent, and tough, while also being vulnerable. Bonnie attended the local schools there and was a bright student who showed a keen interest in poetry and literature, earning honors. However, when she turned 16, Bonnie dropped out of school and married Roy Thornton. The marriage wasn't happy, and Thornton began spending more time away from home. In 1929, he was charged with robbery and sentenced to 5 years in prison. In 1930, Bonnie met Clyde at a mutual friend's house, and the attraction between them was instantaneous. Clyde was impressed by Bonnie's intelligence and wit, and they talked all night long. Their budding romance was interrupted when Clyde was arrested and convicted for auto theft. When Clyde was sentenced to prison for 2 years, Bonnie was devastated and went to visit him the first chance she got. Clyde's cellmate told Bonnie they could escape if they had a gun. Bonnie managed to smuggle them a gun on her next visit, and they used it to escape. Unfortunately, they were caught, and Clyde was sentenced to 14 years in Eastern Prison Farm. Bonnie and Clyde kept in touch through letters during this time, and in 2 years, Clyde was released on parole. Clyde's mothers worked hard to get him an early parole, but Clyde did not know that, and managed to convince another worker to accidentally cut off his big toe and part of another toe. Clyde and Bonnie began seeing each other again immediately following Clyde's release, and their love only grew more intense. Still bitter about the government's role in the Depression, Clyde decided to put together a new team of thieves to take the money that he felt was rightly theirs. This began their crime spree, cementing the duo Bonnie and Clyde. They robbed banks, stores, and gas stations and killed at least 9 people. They became notorious for their daring escapes from the police and their romanticized image in the media. After the duo managed to escape from the police numerous times, the police predicted the next time they would visit Dallas to see their families on May 23rd, 1934, when Bonnie and Clyde were on their way to meet family. Unbeknownst, the police were waiting for them and opened fire as soon as the car came into view. Both Bonnie and Clyde died immediately.
Look, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. I would want me a girl like Bonnie. She was with it. I went to jail. She held it down for me. I told her I needed a gun to get out. She brought me a gun. After we got out, I told her I'm trying to rob banks. She was trying to rob banks with me. That's a ride or die. I would love me a crazy chick like a Bonnie, bro. Keep it a stack. If I'm a Clyde, give me a Bonnie, nigga, we straight. Anyway, they said they robbed a few banks, killed a few people. Hopefully this list gets a little bit more crazy because it didn't sound like anything too brutal. You know what I mean? She about that money, and they did what they had to do. Let's keep going.
Liciardi, 1951, present. Maria Licciardi was born in 1951 in Secondigliano, Naples, Italy. She grew up in a close-knit family that had close ties with a powerful Italian mafia group, the Camorra. Her brother, Gennaro Licciardi, was the one who established the Licciardi clan. During the time her brother was head, Maria took to supporting the clan from the shadows. She was one of the founders of the strategic Secondigliano alliance that allowed for better control over drug trafficking and the extortion racket in many areas of Naples. In 1993, after the male members of the clan were either dead or arrested by the police, Maria took over as the head of the Licciardi clan. She expanded the group's criminal activities of money laundering, drug trafficking, and extortion by forming alliances with other criminal organizations. Their business grew to the point that people said they had transformed the Naples suburb of Secondigliano into an immense supermarket for drugs. Alongside all these activities, Maria Licciardi was the first head to introduce prostitution rackets as a form of revenue for the clan. The Camorra had a code of conduct that forbade them from making money from prostitution, but Maria broke this code. The Licciardi clan bought girls and minors from the Albanian mafia for $2,000 and engaged in prostitution rackets. Maria is described as intelligent, practical, and charming, but also ruthless and terrifying. She was a born leader with a steely charisma and effective managerial skills. She was nicknamed La Piccolina, little girl, and among Camorra women, she is known respectfully as the Princess. She was also called Bloody Mary due to her brutal reign and merciless killings of anyone who would be in the way of the clan. She was also the capo dei capi of the Licciardi clan. Her downfall came after an inspection of a heroin shipment from Istanbul. She deemed the heroin to be not saleable as it was unrefined and too strong. It would kill their customers and garner unwanted media attention. She rejected the drugs and ordered the load returned. A rival clan, the Lorusso, disobeyed, snatched the drug supply, and sold the powder in a small bag. Her assessment turned out to be true, and that batch of heroin killed a number of users, ensuing at least 53 gang wars that killed nearly 120 people. The police immediately took notice and started an investigation. The other clans took this as an opportunity to grow their power, so they started rebelling against the Licciardi clan. Several of her men died, including her nephew, whom she avenged by having 14 people killed. In 1999, police raided the meetings of 13 mafia bosses, but were unable to catch Licciardi. However, in 2001, she was arrested and convicted of mafia-related crimes and served 8 years for her crimes before being released in 2009. She was again arrested in 2021 and was recently sentenced by the court in 2023 to serve 12 years in prison.
She only got to serve 12 years in prison. What the hell? This woman was badass, bro. She was badass. She was making money selling drugs. She said, okay, look, we don't do prostitution, but we about to start. Started doing prostitution with the women. Well, she didn't start, but I mean, like, that was a part of how they were making money. Prostitution and selling drugs. And clearly, she was smart enough to, even when she got a bad batch of drugs, she was like, nah, we shouldn't sell this. It'll do more harm than good. Like, trust me. She was correct. Anyway, she sounded like she was... I don't know if it was too brutal because they didn't go over all the brutality. They more so went over just like the things or the crimes that she did and how she ran it. They said that they called her brutal because she killed people. Okay, maybe she did it in a very brutal way, you know, like behead people. I don't know. But anyway, she seemed like she was doing her thing.
Thompson, 1962, present. Jica Thompson is referred to as one of the most powerful female drug dealers in the United States. She was the queenpin of the cocaine trade business.
I watched the documentary on her.
Crack epidemic. She was born in 1962 in the United States, California. When she was young, because her parents divorced and her mom was a single mother to her and her siblings, money was always tight. When they were evicted due to being unable to pay and their items were thrown out on the streets, that's when Jica decided there were two things she wanted in life: money and power. Jica started very early in the field of drug dealing. In high school, she paired with her boyfriend, Anthony Daff Mosley. She and Anthony started dealing cocaine and marijuana, and after a while, their business became very successful. The two later married and had a son together. After seeing significant growth in their business, they decided to expand it to include dealing with a more in-trend drug, crack cocaine. But before that could happen, Anthony was murdered. She was devastated, but she did not let it stop her and moved on. She continued to expand the business she'd started with her late husband by making additional connections and moving into new territories throughout the United States. She even established routes to directly import cocaine from producers in Colombia, and as she gained more power, influence, and connections, Jica rose through the ranks to earn the title of Queen Pin. She also invested in a hair distribution business that was actually a front for her cocaine dealings and money laundering activities. She legitimized it by putting money into advertising, traveling, and holding shows to show off her products. This was also a fallback business in case she wanted to leave the criminal underworld. However, her departure from a life of crime would be compelled rather than a matter of personal choice. Jica's business partner and boyfriend, Percy Cheese Bratton, was caught red-handed with cocaine in his car, and he made a deal with authorities to help capture Jica herself. He would
Somebody always got a snitch. So he got caught with cocaine, and they said he's about to make a deal with the police to snitch on her.
Provide them with evidence to indict her, and they would let him off the hook. Jica eluded authorities for 2 years, but in 1993, she disguised herself to attend the 6th grade graduation of her only son. She was unaware that authorities expected her to be there, and were also disguised as random people in the school. Her disguise proved to be unsuccessful, as she was recognized by the authorities. Jica was swiftly arrested and charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine and 5 counts of money laundering. She was sentenced to 15 years in maximum security prison, but came out after serving only 12. During her time in prison, Jica converted to Christianity and developed a deep connection with God. After she was released, the Queen Pin began a Christian ministry called Second Chance Evangelical Ministries.
That chick was a queen pin. She only got 12 years in prison and turned her life to God. That is crazy. She had a whole 180 story, bro. I remember watching a documentary on her. And yeah, she was about that life. Like, anybody that would come up against her, she would order them to be killed. So she was very brutal.
Felix, 1983 to 2019. Claudia Berenice Ochoa. Felix was born on January 15, 1987, in Culiacan, Sinaloa. Her childhood and early life are shrouded in mystery. She was introduced to the mafia life through marriage. She married a drug trafficker of the Sinaloa cartel, El Chavo Felix, and had 3 children with him. She was unknown until she publicly started sharing her life on social media. Claudia Ochoa Felix was very active on social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. She was pretty much a lifestyle influencer. She became famous on social media in 2014 for posting photos of herself wielding a custom-made pink AK-47. She also portrayed a lifestyle that included luxury sports cars, private jets, yachts, and guns. She became known as the Kim Kardashian of organized crime due to her resemblance to the famous socialite. She has gained a total of 290,000 followers on her Instagram. She used her social media fame to launch a modeling career. Claudia only publicly shared her life as a normal rich socialite. She denied any ties to the mafia or other criminal organizations, despite her relationships with Sinaloa cartel bosses. She was also seen countless times in images posted by young members of the Sinaloa cartel. She slammed the allegations of being a cartel leader as cowardly lies and slander. Though one intelligence source said, Felix claims she is just a regular mum, but how many mothers have custom-made guns? In June 2014, Claudia Ochoa Felix appeared before the press with her 3 children to read a statement in which she claimed to be a victim of harassment and defamation that put her life in danger. She was also linked to Jose Rodrigo Arechiga, better known as El Chino Antrax. He was the head of Los Antrax, known to be an armed enforcement wing of the Sinaloa drug cartel, which was headed by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. After the arrest of El Chino Antrax, Claudia took over the leadership of Los Antrax, earning her the title of La Emperatriz de Los Antrax, the Empress of Los Antrax. She kept enjoying her life just as she had been, despite the unwanted attention and rumors that came with her social media presence. On September 13th, 2019, Claudia was seen at a party accompanied by an unknown man. The next morning, the same man called authorities claiming Claudia wasn't breathing. Paramedics arrived, but she was pronounced dead soon after. She was found in a bed, and there were no signs of violence. Initially, the news indicated that she had overdosed, but rumors about her death began to circulate, and many came to believe that it was foul play. However, an autopsy carried out by the Forensic Medical Service of Sinaloa revealed that she had not been murdered, but that she died as a result of asphyxia due to bronchial aspiration due to the consumption of alcohol.
Yeah, right. Do y'all actually believe that? Like, for real, think about that. Nah. It was for sure some sort of foul play. They for sure drugged her, poisoned her, and of course, what they told the people that did the autopsy, if you say something, nigga, we gonna kill you and your family next. So of course they gonna say, she just got too drunk and she died in her sleep. Yeah, okay.
Stephanie St. Clair, 1897 to 1969. In a world where being a woman, let alone a black woman, presented numerous obstacles, this woman defied the odds and rose above to become the Queen of Harlem. Stephanie Sinclair was born in 1897 to a single mother in Guadeloupe, West Indies, the East Caribbean. She lost her mother at a very young age, and with no family to depend on, she took matters into her own hands. In 1912, at the age of just 15, she boarded a ship bound for the United States. She ended up settling in Harlem and opened a business selling drugs with her boyfriend. After a while, she told him she wanted to open a solo business. Her boyfriend was furious to hear that and tried to strangle her, but she ended up killing him in self-defense. From then on, Stephanie worked solo. She invested $10,000 of her own money into a game called policy banking, which was a semi-illegal mixture of investing, gambling, and playing the lottery. She knew that banks wouldn't accept black customers, and black people didn't trust the banks, so she took charge of the underground gambling game, rallying black people to her business, and by the 1920s, she was clearing $250,000 a year. By 1930, she had a personal fortune of $500,000 in cash, which would be $8 million in today's money, along with several properties. This earned her the titles of Queen of Harlem and Queen of Numbers. Seeing the lucrative profit potential in the Harlem gambling scene, many white mobsters attempted to take over Harlem. One of them, Dutch Schultz, tried to intimidate St. Clair and her allies into agreeing with one of his conditions: relinquish their business to him, continue to run it, and hand over a share of the profits, or face the brutal consequences of choosing neither option. Stephanie St. Clair went to an all-out war with Schultz, attacking his businesses and tipping the police off about his illegal activities. St. Clair was known to be a strong advocate for her community and was not afraid to be ruthless when dealing with gangsters like Schultz. St. Clair declared that, "I'm not afraid of Dutch Schultz or any other living man. He'll never touch me. I will kill Schultz if he sets foot in Harlem. He is a rat. The policy game is my game." Schultz was assassinated in 1935, and although Madame St. Clair wasn't involved in the order, she did, true to her eccentric personality, send him a telegram saying, "As ye sow, so shall ye reap," signed Madame Queen of Policy. St. Clair entered into a one-year trial relationship with Sufi Abdul Hamid, and only 2 years later shot him 3 times after finding out he cheated on her with a fortune teller. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. After she was released, she took a break from crime and died shortly after in 1969.
Baby girl did everything correctly, but she ended up going to prison for shooting her husband because he cheated on her. I'll tell you, women be tripping. How you running a whole illegal gambling ring? You making hella money. You a multi-millionaire, but you kill your husband just because that nigga cheated. You should have went and got a new one. You should have kicked him out and got a new one. But okay, no, that's cool though. That's cool. Old boy tried to intimidate her. She set a hit on that nigga, got him killed. That's fire.
Griselda Blanco, 1943 to 2012. Griselda Blanco was undoubtedly one of the most deadly, ruthless, and cold-blooded gangsters to have ever lived. Her life of
I've heard about her. I watched a documentary on her too. She is ruthless.
crime started at the tender age of 11. Growing up in poverty, money was always scarce, so she looked for ways to earn some. She went to the upscale areas near her neighborhood and kidnapped a boy. She proceeded to demand money in exchange for his release, but when the parents did not take her seriously, she murdered him. She was involved in pickpocketing, kidnapping, murdering, and prostitution, all before she turned 13. She married her first husband, Carlos Trujillo, when she was just a teenager, and even though she had 3 sons with him, the marriage did not last. She would later have him killed over a business dispute. At age 20, she married her second husband, Alberto Bravo, who introduced her to the Medellin cartel and by extension the cocaine industry. They moved to New York, and that is where Griselda wove her criminal web, expanding her drug empire. She created many of the smuggling techniques that are still in use today. She started moving cocaine using women instead of men. She had bras and underwear created that were explicitly designed to carry drugs. No one would ask a woman to get as naked as the day she was born, or check her underwear to see if she was carrying drugs. She also made use of the sea routes and transported cocaine via speedboats and submarines. And if anyone dared to get in her way, they would face her wrath, even if that was her husband. The Queen Pin is rumored to have killed her second husband and his 6 guards in a shootout, but he was just one of more than 200 people she had killed. Her preferred method was using gunmen on motorcycles, a practice she had invented. She was ruthless, merciless, and paired with her street smarts and tenacity, she earned names such as Godmother of Cocaine, La Madrina, and the Queen of Cocaine, and after marrying and then killing her third husband, the Black Widow. Seeking to eliminate her competition, she displayed a brazen ruthlessness that plunged the city of Miami into a period of violence that became known as the Cocaine Cowboy Wars. She's someone who is placed on the same criminal pedestal as Pablo Escobar and Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, and just as they fell, so did she. In 1985, she was arrested on drug charges and sent to prison, but she never stopped running her empire. Even while in prison, she continued to move cocaine and order hits on her enemies. She was later charged cash for the murders, but she made a deal to confess to 3 murders in exchange for a reduced sentence. After serving her time, she was released in 2004 and deported back to Colombia, where in 2012 she was murdered in her hometown, ironically, by 2 gunmen on motorcycles. Arline Brickman.
Griselda Blanco is that bitch, bro. Like, if you really want to get deep into how fire she was, look up Cocaine Cowboys. I believe that's the name of the documentary. That shit is crazy. She was really about that life. Like the narrator on this video said, she killed over like 200 people. She will kill people over disputes, whatever. It didn't matter. Like, she was out there.
Sandra Avila Beltran, 1960, present. Sandra was born in 1960 into one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in Mexico, the Guadalajara Cartel. She is the niece of Miguel Gallardo, known as El Padrino, the boss of bosses of the Mexican drug trade, and one of the founders of the Guadalajara Cartel decades ago. She grew up in tremendous wealth, literally surrounded by piles of cash. She spent so much time counting her family's money when she was a child that, as an adult, she could tell exactly how much a wad of bills was worth just by holding it. Sandra initially wanted to be a journalist, but a kidnapping attempt from a jealous friend forced her back to the life she grew up in, a life of crime. She became involved in drug trafficking from a young age. She rose to power primarily from her involvement in the trafficking of cocaine from Colombia to the United States and Mexico. She provided a secure and steady supply of cocaine for the Sinaloa cartel. The enormous profit margins of cocaine allowed Sandra to gain more power and influence the more she got across. She soon became something of a legend in the Mexican drug world and was dubbed La Reina del Pacifico, the Queen of the Pacific. But getting more money isn't just what solidifies one's position in a cartel. The underworld is cutthroat, and if you don't have the stomach for it, you get taken out very soon. Sandra Avila Beltran, however, was just as if not more ruthless than any of her cartel members. In 2002, her son with Juan Diego Espinosa Ramirez, the second most important man in Colombia's Valle cartel, was kidnapped in Mexico. She contacted the authorities for help immediately, but ended up negotiating with the kidnappers herself. The ransom amount ranged from $5 million. This raised suspicions in the police, and an investigation was launched into her life. However, it took more than 4 years and 30 federal agents to close in and finally arrest Sandra. Avila Beltran was arrested on September 28, 2007, and was charged with organized crime and conspiracy to drug trafficking. Some charges were later dropped, but she remained in custody on charges related to possession of illegal weapons and money laundering, all while awaiting extradition to the United States. Law enforcement agencies on both sides of the border were working hard to put her behind bars for all the crimes she had committed. In 2013, she pleaded guilty to being an accessory to drug trafficking for a reduced sentence which she got. She was sentenced to 70 months in prison. She was released in 2015 and deported back to Mexico, where she has kept a low profile since. The last we know of her is that in 2022, she sued Netflix and TV channel Telemundo, claiming that the TV series Queen of the South was made based on her life without her consent. Enina.
Oh, I gotta watch that show then. I heard that show is low-key fire, and it's about her life. No wonder why they kept showing clips from it. Okay, I gotta watch that show. I heard it was really good.
Claudia Felix, 1961, present. There have been many women who have taken on a leadership role in the world of organized crime, but Enina Arano Felix stands apart as one of the first women to head an entire cartel. She was born in 1961 in Sinaloa, Mexico, to a family of drug traffickers. Enina desired the normalcy that life had to offer. When she was 17 years old, Enina dreamed of becoming the Mazatlan Carnival Queen, but soon abandoned it after her 2 brothers, Ramon and Benjamin, were wanted by the United States and the Mexican government. After graduating with a bachelor's degree in accounting from a private university in Guadalajara, Enina joined her family business as a logistical accountant. Throughout most of the 1990s, the Tijuana cartel was headed by her 6 brothers, while Enina advised and helped them in money laundering and other financial matters. After the fall of the former cartel's financial brain, Jesus Labra Aviles, alias El Chuy, in the year 2000, Enina began to directly manage the money laundering activities of the criminal organization. She created front businesses through which she would run their money laundering operations. She was very focused on the business aspect of her family's criminal empire, creating alliances with other criminal organizations to strengthen the Tijuana cartel and make trafficking cocaine, marijuana, heroin, and crystal meth over the world's busiest border crossing into California easier. Leading with an iron hand, she demonstrated remarkable intelligence and the unmatched capability to exert authority in a field largely dominated by men, earning her the title of La Jefa, the boss, and La Madrina, the godmother. She is also said to be as charming charming and beautiful as she is intelligent. She was also called the financial brains of the Tijuana cartel by Mexican and American authorities alike. Enina, though known for playing her pivotal role in the Tijuana cartel, is very much a mystery in her personal life. Not much is known besides a few family portraits. Her brothers were either killed by police, targeted by assassins disguised as clowns, or incarcerated in prison. In 2008, there was a brutal turf war between the Tijuana cartel and a rival drug cartel. Eduardo Arano Felix, Enina's brother, led the Tijuana cartel into the turf war that left piles of bodies around Tijuana. After Eduardo was arrested in 2008 and sentenced to 15 years in prison, Enina Arellano Felix took over as the head of the cartel, along with her nephew, Luis Fernando Sanchez Arellano, also known as El Ingeniero, and worked hard to restore order in the aftermath of the turf war. Sanchez Arellano was arrested in 2014, and the Mexican government accused him of being involved in organized crime and drug trafficking and sent to prison. Enina is also wanted for drug trafficking and money laundering, but is yet to be caught. In 2023, she is still said to be active and in charge of the Tijuana cartel.
All right, bro, that was a good video, interesting video. We saw some of the most brutal female gangsters. I would probably classify this video more so as just like the best female gangsters or the most successful female gangsters. Because some of these females, they didn't even sound like they did anything too brutal. Like the last one we just heard about, she just took over. She was very smart, you know. She was behind the whole business aspect. When most of her brothers died, she took over the cartel. She did a really good job. She's still doing a good job to this day. Still hasn't been caught. So that's actually pretty dope, man. That's fire. Let me know what y'all thought about this down in the comments. Shout out to the gang. Everybody have a good day. Have a great day. See y'all next time. Yeah. Peace.
You said you're lonely. You can't get none of me. Smoking the gas now. Feel like a star, yeah. She wanna get rich. Proud of Dior, yeah. My heart is so froze now.